Mason, take her away.
Good morning, everybody. I'm pleased to be with you all this morning and have a chance to introduce our guest speaker. Our presentation will cover the topic of why she believes people should eat meat, and she has a solid understanding of the meat industry, having worked with cattle and helping raise 9,000 finishing hogs. An interesting fact about her is she recently held an internship over the summer working in the swine industry and is going to lead into a future career of selling future hog barns in the swine industry. So would you all please help me introduce our speaker, Jill Novus.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for coming to class today. As you can see, my topic is about why I eat meat and why I think other people should eat meat too. My credibility, I am a meat eater. I've been a meat eater for a very long time. I love to eat meat. If I could eat it in every meal, I would, but it's probably not too healthy to do that. And my family owns 9,000 finishing hogs. 5,000 of them are less than 100 yards from my house back home. So I've been around swine my entire life. That's just been my life, is pigs really. So, and now I've kind of started to work with cattle on a regular basis. I actually own 20 head of cows with calves on their sides right now, so I'm getting into that industry and I'm starting to really like it, and the research that I've done from this presentation also makes me critical. My objectives, I'm going to explain the benefits of eating meat regularly. I will also explain why people do not eat meat from the research that I found and from just other things that I've heard vegetarians or vegans say about their reasoning behind that. And I will illustrate why eating meat is ethical. So to start off, the health benefits. The health benefits of eating meat are crazy. They contain so many nutrients that you need for your everyday life to be healthy, to be just your bodies to be nourished. And it doesn't raise your risk for cardiovascular disease. I know that some meats have a lot of fat in them, and that can kind of raise a red flag to some people, but that does not raise your risk for cardiovascular disease. And B12, this was a huge one that everyone was advertising whenever I was doing research, because B12 is only found in meat, fish, milk, and eggs, or you can get it in a pill, obviously. But if you're a vegan, you can't eat any of those things. So if you need your B12 vitamins, then you would have to take them in a pill or a shot of some form. And meat helps stabilize your blood sugar. So if you have an issue with this, I know my dad has an issue with stabilizing blood sugar, so he tends to eat more meat than a lot of other people because it helps regulate that. And humans function better as omnivores, and omnivores means that you eat plants and meat. So if you're eating a steak and you have some vegetables to go along with that, your body's going to react a lot better than that to maybe just eating only vegetables or only eating just a humongous steak. So, and as everyone knows, meat is a huge source of protein. So without your protein, your body's not going to be able to grow, your muscles won't grow. So protein is just a huge factor, as well as if you're a big health or fitness buff, you're going to want that protein. A lot of people get it through their shakes or their drinks in the morning, but meat, as you can see in this tasty little rib picture, that's where you get a lot of your protein. And my favorite benefit is the taste of it. I mean, you can't beat a good steak, like you just can't beat it. And it's very filling. So for me, if I'm gonna go pay a bunch of money down at CC Broiler for my steak and lobster, then I wanna be filled up for a while. I don't wanna be hungry in 2 hours, rather than if I ate a salad, oh gosh, right before bed I'm hungry, gotta go eat some more. So that's one of my main favorites about meat, is it fills you up. You don't have to go back and get something else to eat. You can be full for a while. Some more benefits is there's no proven health benefits to avoiding it. So if you are trying to avoid it, there's no health benefits to that, no proven health benefits at least. And there's a very weak correlation to cancer. in today's world, from what I've observed, is everything will give you cancer. You walk outside, you're going to get skin cancer from the sun. If you drink Pepsi or Diet Pepsi, you're going to get cancer from the carbonation. So you can pretty much get cancer from anything now, because I don't think they don't have a cause for it, so they just think everything causes it. So there's a very weak correlation from meat to cancer. And muscle growth, right now it's probably not as big of a deal because we already have our muscles developed, but whenever you're younger, if you're not eating as much meat, your muscles aren't going to be as strong, you're going to be kind of smaller, maybe a little bit more scrawny. So especially whenever you're younger, eating meat is going to be a huge factor. It gives you really long-lasting energy. I know sometimes if I eat a huge meal after Thanksgiving in a couple weeks, we might be like, oh my gosh, I need a nap. But later, after that, you're going to get that huge burst of energy once your food's been digested in your body. So after the kind of tired factor, you're going to get that really long burst of energy from that meat and all those nutrients that you ate. And this was a very interesting study. I did a lot of research on this, and if 2 vegan parents have a child, their intelligence level will be lower than 2 meat-eating parents. So it wasn't just like they did a study on 2 groups of families. They did studies on hundreds of families to get this information and to make sure that it was correct. So I thought that was very interesting to think about, and because I guess this is very stereotypical, but anyone who's, from my point of view, is like a vegan, they think they're very smart and they're very intelligent, and that's just kind of what I get off from them. So I would imagine that 2 vegan parents making a child would make that child very, very intelligent, which studies have been shown that that's not totally true. And these are the reasons that I have found that people don't eat meat, and the reasons that I've heard people don't eat meat. And lower risks of a lot of diseases. I work with a girl who's a vegetarian, and I asked her why she's a vegetarian. She said, well, it's a lower risk of pretty much any disease you can think of. And I was like, what? I was like, what do you mean any disease you can think of? And she was like, well, if you, you might not get a cold because you didn't eat meat. And I was like, you don't get colds from eating meat. But anyway, she was just saying that you get a lot of health risks if you eat meat, which we found out already is not true. And factory farms carry diseases. So these people I found this whenever I was doing research, and these factory farms carry these diseases, and then the meat that they produce also has the diseases in it, which the humans think that they can get it from these animals, which I'm assuming a lot of us eat meat, and I don't think any of us have diseases from factory farm animals, so that's obviously not true either. And factory farm animals are toxic. A lot of people think that factory farm animals are machines, and they just get pumped up with everything. They're only a machine, they're not an animal, they don't have a life, they just get pushed around and are pretty much only there for human consumption, which a lot of times they are, but they're not toxic. Those animals, they do live their life, but they're not toxic. Yes, if they're sick, they do get an antibiotic or a hormone to help them grow, but they're not toxic. Those animals, they're not like radiating with a bad substance or anything. So another reason is environmental reasons. A lot of people who are vegetarians or vegans think that it's an insufficient use of agriculture if we are eating meat and we're using resources to process these animals, and which I don't agree with. I think that animals are a huge part of agriculture, and if we didn't use them for meat, then we would have all of these animals that aren't getting used for anything. And it's an insufficient use of water, so whenever we're processing them and we're using water, and I guess if we're feeding them or letting them drink water, that it's also insufficient use, which didn't really understand that one either, but that was a big one that people were talking about. And the last one is animal rights. Vegetarians don't like the treatment of animals. And not the treatment of animals while they're living, it's when they're taken to the slaughterhouse to be processed for meat, that's the part that they don't like. And I was asking this one girl, I said, so what's the main reason you do not like meat? And she said, every time I would eat meat, I would think of that animal being killed. And I was like, so every time you took a bite, you thought of the animal being killed? And she was like, yes. And I was like, well, I thought that was a little bit extreme, but, and I know I don't think that way, but that's how some people think, and I understand that they have the right to think that way and they have the right to not eat meat, but that was just a little bit kind of different to the way of thinking about meat whenever you were eating it. And also, to illustrate why eating meat is ethical, if we did not eat meat, we would have an overpopulation of animals. So these animals are still going to breed, these animals are still going to do everything the same, even if we didn't eat them for meat. So if we didn't eat them, they would be they just live their life and then they go and die in the pasture. So we'd have, I guess if you were cleaning them up, you just have these huge piles or big holes of these cows rather than taking them to the slaughterhouse or the sale barn to get bought, and then they go get processed and they go get their meat taken off of them and they get used for a good reason, for people to nourish their bodies. And it promotes and supports farmers. So on that package you can see where that meat came from, and that's supporting a farmer. Somewhere you are supporting someone every time you buy a piece of meat, or every time you get a steak at a restaurant, or a hamburger at a restaurant or something. You're supporting a farmer somewhere. Somebody produced that. Someone owned that cow or pig if it's bacon, or a pork chop or a pork loin or something of that nature. And so that's my thing. I love to support farmers. So if you're eating meat, you're supporting somebody in the agriculture industry. And animals would not survive in the wild. As I talked about before, there would be an overpopulation. So if you have an overpopulation of animals, these coyotes and other animals that are killing cows now, they would have more access to killing them because there's going to be more of them. And I know right now, in where I'm from, people will hire younger kids that love to go coyote hunting and say, come kill all these coyotes off my land because they are getting at my cows. So they'll let people come in, hunt there for a couple weeks, kill off all the coyotes, and then those coyotes aren't going to come back for a while. They're going to be, screw that, I'm not into that, I don't want any part of it. So that's another thing, is if we didn't do that, then there would be a lot more killing of animals vigorously rather than doing it in the way we do it now, which is more humane. And now I'm going to do a little bit of a recap. I explained the benefits of eating meat regularly, and I described why people don't eat meat, and I also illustrated why eating meat is ethical. And so now I just have a question. Who in this class eats meat? Oh my gosh, yay! Oh, you're a vegetarian? Okay, can I ask you what your reasoning is behind it?
It's actually a major cause of global warming. And it's increased CO2 levels. I have a presentation about it, so I'll actually be doing why you should be vegetarian.
Okay, cool. Well, that kind of works out then.
Yeah.
Did you agree with any of my reasons why people do eat meat?
Yes and no, actually. So, speaking in a biochemical sense, LDL and cholesterol are two major causes of plaque and arteriosus, which is a major heart disease. And so when you break down carnitine in meat, it's actually a huge component of plaque. So,
Okay.
in terms of it doesn't increase heart disease, I don't agree with that in a biochemical sense.
Okay.
But in some of the other reasons, I agree with you. Yeah. So.
Okay, well, very cool. That's interesting. So here are my sources, and thank you very much, everyone. So.